Yes, sir. We are back. This is your guy, Marcellus Ease, and these NBA Finals are about to go all the way. As in this segment, we'll break down how the Pacers defense has switched up and allowed this team to completely dominate every facet of this game. Even the way both teams blew each other out, the margins were very similar. In Game 2, OKC blew out the Pacers by 16, and in Game 6, the Pacers blew them out by 17. Again, in this series, there's a lot of little nuances. The battle between Chet and Myles Turner, both teams having great transition defense, as well as having a good reputation for not turning the ball over. So there's a battle there of who could self-destruct first so the other team's defense could capitalize. And the basketball gods have always lined up this particular NBA Finals to go all the way. But hey, I'm not going to say no more. Let's just get to it.
The Thessalonian you're fighting. He's the biggest man I've ever seen. I wouldn't want to fight him.
That's why no one will remember your name.
I'll go right.
Now, one of the catalysts of this Pacers defense, very similar to OKC, is that they have a number of players to apply ball pressure starting in the backcourt. They've done this throughout the playoffs and throughout this series, switching between guys like Nembhard, Naismith, Ben Shepherd, Mathurin, and TJ McConnell. But in Game 5, early in the possessions, we've seen with a lot of that ball pressure, the Thunder began to counter, having Isaiah Hartenstein set these high screens. So when SGA comes off of it and them just trying to apply that ball pressure, they kind of got exposed a little bit. Here it is again early in transition. Hartenstein setting that high ball screen. You see how SGA has more room to operate. And Hartenstein, he sets real screens. Like, he's really good at that. He could plant right into the defender. He's good at rescreening. And he has high basketball IQ enough to know even if he has to set a flat screen right directly behind the defender. That way the defender has to go completely around him. But SGA just has more room to operate like this. And the reason why I bring up Game 5 before we see the adjustments in Game 6 with the Pacers ball pressure is the fact that OKC in the start of the series, they switched up. They went to a smaller lineup by putting Case and Wallace out there. And it was not until Game 4 where they put Isaiah Hartenstein back into that starting lineup. But right here in Game 6, there was also another adjustment. Of course, Isaiah Hartenstein continued to start, but in the third quarter, they elected to have him come off the bench for Alex Caruso. So the Thunder have made small tweaks throughout this series in order to adjust to a lot of the ball pressure coming from the Pacers player on SGA and J-Dub. In reality, the Thunder don't have too many ball handlers who could create for themselves, especially dealing with all that ball pressure. So that's where the Hartenstein tweaks we've seen throughout this series have really come into play. So fast forward into Game 6, as we can see SGA bringing up the ball. There's no ball pressure in the backcourt. Very unusual for this Pacers team throughout these playoffs. But now the pressure is going to be applied. And look at Myles Turner. He's meeting SGA at the line. Usually he's in drop back, but he's been getting burned all series. So why not apply that pressure now? And this is how the Pacers really force a lot of these turnovers. The Pacers defense now has switched up and only applying ball pressure in the half court. And at the same time, this shrinks the floor. Even on one-on-one situations, look at Hartenstein. He's not going to set these screens because there's not necessarily any ball pressure out here. But J-Dub dealing with Naismith just on his hip the whole time, just riding him out. And he turns the ball over. And let's not get it twisted. SGA and Jalen Williams didn't have a bad game. It's that the rest of the teammates didn't really have their shots going. I mean, just going into halftime, the star duo had 31 points while the rest of their teammates only had 11. So again, with his teammates just kind of struggling, look at Nembhard right here. He's going to stay on his hip and ride him the whole time. So his teammates are not hitting shots. So Nembhard just keeps the ball pressure. Guys are not afraid to back off of Lou Dort. They did a lot of that in this matchup. Guys are not hot, so the ball pressure gets real. Again, the Pacers not applying pressure on the backcourt. But look at Turner. Completely hedges. Forces SGA to make a wide turn right here. And look at Naismith. He sticks on SGA. And really the catalyst to all this is them not really worrying about Lou Dort. Because in this game, the way they were closing out on some of these three-point shooters, it was insane. See, Lou Dort is a person that they don't mind him taking that shot. Here's another example here where everything kind of comes together. Look at Turner, once again, meeting SGA at the line, not allowing him to make that turn. He's normally in drop back, so he closes that. But again, look how the Pacers rotate. Look at Nembhard. These guys were everywhere. And make no mistake about it, this is a collective effort. Look at Nembhard right here. He's going to ride that hip of SGA. Just stays with him. Doesn't allow him to get anywhere. We got to give kudos to Nembhard, because look at right here. He was everywhere. It summed up his night. That's another beautiful thing about this series. Look at these two standing right next to each other. At times, going from game to game, they really mirror each other. But going back to the Pacers defense, it's a number of things that allowed them to eventually constrict this Oklahoma City Thunder offense. Nembhard was able to contain SGA with the ball pressure, thus allowing Naismith to fully dedicate all his attention on J-Dub. And just sticking to that starting unit, a third player that was really impacting that defense was Myles Turner, as he finally won his matchup against Chet. And it doesn't necessarily get reflected in his stats, but Chet struggled to score against him on one-on-one situations. And most importantly, Turner was able to make his presence felt in the paint, getting 2 blocks. This is where Chet throughout this series has really impacted that matchup and won majority of this battle so far. It's not necessarily his scoring either. It's the impact that he has on the Thunder by getting them second chance points, by grabbing offensive boards, his isolation defense out on the perimeter against Tyrese Haliburton, just containing him out there in that space. So a lot of the intangibles is really the battle between Chet and Myles Turner in this series. And in game 6, Turner definitely had came out on top. And I firmly believe this is one of the main battles within this matchup that's going to make the difference in this series. Myles Turner does have the most favorable matchup in the paint, especially when OKC goes small. So can he take advantage of that situation on both ends of the court? Also, can he have one game where he's knocking down some of these wide open threes? Something like that could flip this series in a whole different direction. But going back to this Pacers defense and knowing that there's 3 starters alone that's cooking on that end of the court, you already knew it was going to trickle down to the rest of this team as they finished this game with 7 different players who had a steal. Just look at this play right here as it summarizes this defense in total. Ben Shepherd closes out this gap right here for SGA, stunts in. Nembhard completely closes out right here. Look at Pascal on the help. Look at Obi on the help right here. Again, here's another play with this Pacers defense. Guys are just everywhere and in sync, and they don't mind leaving Lou Dort open. Here's another play, Hartenstein off the offensive board. Naismith gets in there. Look at Tyrese Haliburton. And this looks like the old Pacers right here. Ball movement, quick transition points. This is something we rarely seen in this series. And it's not just coming from the Pacers. Even the Thunder getting out in transition has been rare. But in game 6, the Pacers got back to looking like their old selves. And everything started with the defense, getting 16 steals and forcing 21 turnovers that began to completely constrict J-Dub as well as SGA. And it's not necessarily the Thunder star duo. It's exactly what they were facing. As right here, SGA, he gets blitzed. And we're going to see the Thunder swing this around. But it's right here. When J-Dub attacks his closeout, look at Pascal. He's going to help out. Because with the Thunder shooters just being so cold, now they could back off. And now guys have to start facing clogged up lanes. And they're going to have to make quick reads. As Caruso's going to back over here in the corner, but J-Dub draws this foul. But this is what they were facing in this matchup, knowing that not only the Pacers defenders are on point, but they're not necessarily getting shooting help from their teammates. Again, right here, as soon as SGA attacks, look at TJ. Guys are going to continue to gamble because They want the other Oklahoma City Thunder players to make their shots. The Pacers facing elimination, they were willing to die on that hill of just closing any attacking lanes that SGA and J-Dub would get. Look at Myles Turner right here throughout this whole series. Once again, he's been trying to read these type of screens with SGA coming downhill. Sometimes SGA will reject the screen, or sometimes he would take it, depending on what Myles Turner is doing, because he's not fast enough to react. As right here, he's not fast enough to react. And look who helps him out, Naismith. He gets in that attacking lane. He's willing to back off for some of the shooters, even J-Dub at times. This is what happens to good teams when they reach the finals. They got to pick a hill and go all out and be willing to die on it. So in Game 6, the Pacers definitely chose to clog up the attacking lanes of SGA and J-Dub, fully gamble on OKC's role players to make shots. Again right here, when SGA goes on the attack, look at Matherin, he's on Wiggins. But look where his attention goes to. Now check out Wiggins. See, they care more about SGA's attacking lanes, and they're willing to die on that hill. Now let's look at the same exact scenario for J-Dub, as Pascal and Tony Bradley clogs up his attacking lanes, but he's able to draw the foul, but nothing is going to come easy. You see in the previous game, which was Game 5, J-Dub was sort of cooking like Jimmy Butler in the paint, just getting to the rack, ending the game shooting about 60% from the field. The Pacers were not letting that happen in Game 6. They even gave Lou Dort plenty of chances to knock down his crazy knuckleball threes. Those high arcing shots that he was able to knock down throughout this series, they were willing to even test that out. And he had his chances. Dort missed quite a few of them that even at times when he was open, he started to pass up the three-point shot. But hey, it is what it is. When the Thunder end the game on 21 turnovers and only 11 assists, they left a lot on the table. Just leaves you with your head scratching. But at the end of the day, the Pacers, they played a Pacers kind of game because their bench dropped 48 points. I mean, just all the turnovers everybody got, from TJ to Matherin to a lot of the guys in the starting unit. I know Nembhard got at least 3 steals alone. So guys were cooking up. Myles Turner won his battle with Chet down low, emphasizing that big body presence, especially when the Thunder go small. And now as NBA fans, we get something that we always have appreciated. A Game 7 winner takes all after watching these two teams respond to each other under pressure. Oklahoma City Thunder were under pressure in Games 3 and especially in Game 4 with a one-day turnaround, being down 2-1. We've seen them have their backs against the wall. The offense not quite, clicking as well in that third quarter, and J-Dub as well as SGA came alive in that fourth quarter. J-Dub in the third, SGA in the fourth, and they brought the Thunder back to tie the series up, and the pressure was reversed now on the Pacers to go on the road and try to prevent themselves for the first time losing 2 games in a row, which Oklahoma City Thunder end up taking advantage of, going up 3-2. And then, of course, now we see the Pacers, who they really are, even with Tyrese Haliburton not really being in full health, them actually locking up and dominating every facet of the ball in an elimination game, which is Game 6. So this is going to be real tight heading down the stretch. Both teams have great benches. They prevent each other from scoring points in transition. Great transition defense by both teams. And in this Game 6, it was rare for us to even see OKC slip up like that with their transition defense. But both teams are very similar. Once again, they don't really turn the ball over. They have a deep bench. OKC's bench is very, I would say, more athletic on the defensive end. They can make things happen. And for the Pacers, they have a lot of guys that can come in, shoot the lights out, and provide bench scoring. I mean, look at Game 6. They dropped almost 50 points just from the bench. They had over 7 guys with a steal or more. So this is going to be real tight going to the very end. But we'll see how it plays out. Until next time, you fellas, stay safe. Peace.